Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing a tutorial on how to make a mini journal. These are journals that I have made a bunch of variations of in the past. I'm going to show you 3 different styles, and it's going to be a quicker video because I only have less than 20 minutes. So here's an example of one that I've made. This is one of the more complicated versions of this, and then I'll walk you through a easier version. So for this one, I actually have sewn the pages in with my sewing machine. I ended up not liking that and switching. Once I got a long arm stapler, I was able to switch to stapling. So in this video, we'll be doing stapling. This is a cute little way to bind in the pages. It works if you have a sewing machine and if you don't use too many pieces of paper, and I do like the way it looks. I just ended up liking the stapler better once I tried some different methods. But these cute little journals, this one here is 6 by 4.5, so it is a piece of paper that is 12 or 9 by 4.5, 9 by 6. Oh my gosh, 9 by 6, which is really close to an 8.5 by 11. It's or half of an 8.5 by 11. So I was able to use on the inside 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper cut in half. So that's how I got to this size. It's half of an 8.5 by 11. I used a 12 by 12 paper pad to make this, so I was able to get 2 covers from each paper pad, and then I had a strip left over. But it does fit really well onto an 8.5 by 11 paper cut in half. So that's how I got my pages. So if you'll look in this, you'll see I used a lot of very simple papers. I like to make these as gifts, or like to market as for people who don't necessarily junk journal. They make perfect like slip in your purse, shopping list, take notes for this time of year. I think they're really great for making like Christmas lists, like, oh, for this one I'm gonna give like ideas to give my kid or ideas to give my husband, and you can like put on different pages. So that's my idea with these. And for anyone who doesn't kind of know me, this year I'm making teacher gifts for all the staff at my son's school, and for each teacher, which comes to like 65, I've made a little one of these journals and a couple of bookmarks. I'm not gonna do a tutorial on the bookmarks, but I am going to do a tutorial on these little notebooks. So these little packages, I have already made 65 to 70 of them, and I'm gifting them to each of his teachers, and well, the whole staff in his school. So that's what our example. And then I'm going to show you 3 different versions. The first version is going to be using an old Christmas card. The second version is going to be using this 6 by 6 paper pad, so it'll come out to be skinnier. And then finally, normally I would be cutting down a 12 by 12 paper to make the cover, but my paper cutter is actually broken. So I'm gonna cheat a little bit, and I'm gonna use a piece of this Bo Bunny. This is a 6 by 8 paper pad, but you can kind of do these with any size. They'll just, for a 6 by 8 or a 6 by 6, they might be more work to cut the pages down, whereas if you use a 9 by 6 piece of paper, then all you have to do is cut the 8.5 by 11 in half, and that's makes it so much quicker if you don't have to do that work. So I'm going to start with the 6 by 8 because that's the closest. Now, just for this video, I will be using a ruler to tear all of my pages because, again, my paper cutter broke. So I have to replace it, and I like the torn look anyway, so I'm just going to go for it. So the first thing I'm going to do is select a piece of this paper that looks good in the horizontal directions. Like this one is directional. So I'm just gonna choose a piece that I think looks good horizontal. Now these actually have, okay, I can just fold it, thankfully, because I don't have a paper cutter. That's a long story. Okay, so I'm just gonna trim along the edge to get rid of this like little perforated piece, and it'll have to just be a little wonky. I would definitely recommend using your paper cutter for this, if you have one, but I don't right now. Okay, so I'm gonna use this as one cover. Again, that's just a 6x8. You can get a lot of 6x8s at Joann's, or I can at least. Then I have this 6x6. I think this would make a cute journal. These are double-sided, and all of these are brand new. Well, they're not brand new. These are papers from last year's Christmas clearance, so you're probably not going to be able to find these exact paper collections, but they'll have something similar. They always have something similar each year. Okay, I went off screen to get the stickies off because they were giving me trouble. You can see this one is double-sided, and I don't have to worry about orientation because it's a 6x6, so I'm just going to pick one where I like both of the sides. And this one also has a border toward top part, so I'm just going to fold it and then use that edge to cut it. I do actually kind of have this little bone folder. I can use that. So I'll show you how to make 3 different sizes, and I'll show you how to do the stapler. You could also sew it up, or you could you could use a 3-hole pamphlet stitch or any other kind of binding. I think that for something this simple, it's a little bit overkill to use like a pamphlet stitch, but if you don't have a sewing machine or a long arm stapler or a stapler that like works for this project, then you probably will need to bind it. So here's my first 2 covers. And my third cover is just this holiday card. This is a vintage holiday card, but it's new. Well, I think it's vintage. I found it at a thrift store in those like big bags of cards that they sell. Okay, so my first tip for making these is to clip your corners. I usually do it while my cover is closed so that it lines up when it's closed. I've discovered that when I make these little journals, they look, and I sell them at craft fairs, and they're sitting on a table, they look like cards, and I found that clipping the edge makes them look less like note cards. So I do it. It works for me. If you don't want to, or you don't like that, then don't feel like you have to do that. Okay, so now I have these 3 completely different sizes. I have pulled some papers, and I might need to grab some more. I have some like coffee dyed paper that's a kind of a green. I have some red paper. I have some bright green paper, and I have a slightly different shade of red. That's only 4, so I'm gonna grab another one. Okay, so I grabbed this. Not sure how well you can see it, but it does have a little bit of a pattern on it. So for each journal, I'm going to grab one of each paper. 1, 2, that makes 5 pages. That's kind of my preferred number of pages, and that's what I tend to use for these. You can go up to, I've gone up to 10, I think, without it feeling excessive. So for this, I'm going to take first my 6x6, and I want to, well, normally I would cut them, but this time I'm going to just rip them. I want to rip them to just under 6x6. So because I'm using my ruler, so basically I just don't want the corners poking out of the rounded corners. So I'm going to rip them down approximately that wide. I'm just going to do it all at once. Again, I'm just doing a really quick one. I don't have too much time right now. I do have somewhere that I need to be. Okay, so then for this, because what I would then do is make a second one. So I would fold these in half and use that line to tear them. Okay, so there's my pages. I have these left over, which I could make another 6x6 journal with. Now, the next piece of advice I have is to only fold your cover in half. Don't fold your pages in half. And I'll show you why in a minute. So I'm gonna shuffle these just a little bit. I kind of want this one in the front and then a red, but I didn't quite rip them evenly, and I think that's okay. And then I want to do the green, but I am alternating them so that the ripped edges are on different sides. So the green and then the white, which is actually like a light green that's been dyed, but it's really hard to see on camera. So I would straighten these out, and then I would line them up in your cover. Flip your cover over, grab your stapler, and I always just put 2 staples. One in the top, one in the bottom. So the reason I don't fold the pages is because then I have to worry about lining up all the creases. Whereas if I only fold the cover, then when I'm stapling, I can see where the spine is gonna be. And then once I've stapled it, then I fold the whole thing along the spine, and then I don't have to worry about lining up the creases or ending up like with the creases not lined up. And if they're not lined up, then you end up having to refold your pages anyway. So with something this little, it's easier to just line them up, center them on the cover, and then fold them after. So here's my little booklet. It has 10 pages because 5 folded in half. And then I go through with a bone folder after, and I make sure I crease down all the pages and the front and the back. And then here's our little pocket notebook. So this one works with a 6x6, and let's do the other sizes. And again, I'll go and make another journal out of this after. I don't want to do more than one in the same size right now because I don't have time, but I will save that and make another journal. So I'm gonna grab my papers. Now I liked the order of papers I had last time, so I think I'm gonna put them in this order first before I tear them down. If you're cutting, it's easy to mass make these if you're using a paper cutter, because you can just take a stack of all the same kinds of papers and just cut them all down and then mix and match them. So for this one, because it's a 6x8, I'm just gonna tear it in half with the 8.5 and 11 paper in half, and then I'm just gonna trim a little bit off the edge. So if I want to find the half point of this, I'm just gonna fold this again. It's a lot easier if you have a paper cutter and you can just measure. But we are working with what we have, and I wanted to get this video out there because I promised a couple people that I would do this and record it, and I can't really wait for my replacement paper trimmer to come. So that's in half. Put those up there because I'll just use those later. Actually, I think I want the side of the paper that has the trees in the pattern. Okay, so for this, I just need to trim a little bit off. And I think I'm going to just cut it and hope that it's straight. If you use a 12x12, you can cut your papers to a 9x6, and then you don't have to worry about any, like, you don't have to worry about trimming them down or making sure they fit. So I decided on what my front would be. It's a non-directional paper, so it doesn't really matter, but I just liked the way it looked that way better. And then I'm situating my pages directly in the center. Again, I've only folded the cover. I haven't folded any of the pages. That way I don't have to worry about them getting misaligned. And then I just put 2 staples along the spine. And then you can fold the whole journal in half at once with all the pages. Definitely be careful when you do this. Another reason I like to staple the outside is because then when I'm bone folding and everything, I don't have these poking out, and these can scratch your table, this side of the staple. So then I just go through and fold all the pages. Now, if you're working with a single-sided paper and you don't like the white on the inside, you could line your paper, you could decorate it, you could put a pocket. Like I have these library pockets. So if you had a pocket like that, that could be really cute to add to the front cover. And then you could even tuck, like in my kits, I'm having the bookmarks. You could even tuck the bookmarks into the journal itself if you wanted to put a pocket in the cover. So that's like another idea to kind of elevate those a little bit. You definitely do, if you're going to do the method where you don't fold your pages and try to line them up before you staple, then you definitely want to go through and make sure everything is folded down nicely after you staple it. If you're sewing it, I would also recommend not folding your pages before if you're sewing. But if you are doing a typical binding of some kind with like a 3-hole pamphlet or something, then you probably would want to fold your pages. So here's this one with the same kind of cute pages in here. So that's closer to the size of the example one, the closest I can get with still making it easy on myself right now. And then finally, this one is a little bit of a irregular size because this is just based on whatever size your holiday card is. You can use any kind of card. It doesn't have to be a Christmas card. So if I'm looking at this paper, it feels like the pages, I'm gonna go with it because I don't think that that's too, I don't know. These pages could be too small. I might want to go, yeah, I'm going to cut it down. Change my mind. Halfway through my sentence. I'm going to cut it down or tear it down the long way because this card is rather big. I know it's better to use a metal ruler, but I just went on a retreat and only just came back a couple days ago, and I haven't finished unpacking everything, so I don't currently know where my big metal ruler is. If it's even in that stuff, I'm not even sure that it's in that bag. It's been missing for a little while. Okay, so I'm just using the card to measure. Typically I would measure the card and then I am struggling without my paper cutter. Typically I would measure the card and use my paper cutter like a normal person, but the torn look doesn't look bad. I don't mind it. I just think it's quicker and easier if you're mass producing these to use a paper cutter. So here's these pages, put that one on the front, but I am going to, I'm going to leave them in that order. This one goes on the front. So I want this. Now this one is a Christmas card, so it is directional, so that does matter. You could even, I'm trying to get this in the camera without bumping on anything. So this one's a little bit bigger. I might just do 3 staples, one nice in the middle, one on each edge. 2 staples I kind of like better, because then if you don't line it up properly, it's less wonky if there's only 2 points of staple and not a bunch. Alright, so here's this one. Again, if you wanted to line the inside with something, you could line the inside with a nice pocket, or you could line the whole inside with fabric or another paper before you stapled your pages in. That would make it not as much of a quick project. So it depends. Like, you could get really fancy, or you could make these quick projects. They are great for little gifts. They're great for little stocking stuffers. They're super cute. I love them. This is a really cute one with the card. And then this is using a cut down 12 by 12. You can see here I had a plain patterned cover, so I used just a little sticker, but even then they're white on the inside. So you can decorate them with stickers. You could put a happy holiday. You could put a to from kind of gift sticker. That would be cute. So here are my quick, easy, simple journals. The fastest way to do it is to use a trimmed down piece of 12 by 12 paper, or 8.5 by 11 paper, or 9 by 12 paper if you happen to find that. And then you can just use an 8.5 by 11 sheet in half. That's the fastest way to do them. But I showed you options with a bunch of different common size papers and a Christmas card. If you end up making these, or you think you're gonna make them, please let me know. If you are making teacher gifts for any teachers, I'd love to hear what you're making. I'm gifting these packs to all the teachers in his school, even the ones that maybe haven't even met him. But I will be doing also a bigger gift for his main teacher, because she's amazing and deserves everything. But if you're putting together some teacher gifts, I'd love to hear what you're doing. Or if you're a teacher, I'd love to hear what your favorite kinds of gifts are. And thank you all for watching. I've got to go. I hope you are able to find this video helpful, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Goodbye, everyone.